Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Parables Podcast. I am your host, Ejay Cruz, and this is your first time joining us. I welcome you. You know, we really just sit down, have some amazing conversations with some amazing and impactful people who really just share their story and everything that's led up to where they are today and their success. And our pure goal is for you guys to somehow, in any shape or form, take something back, whether it's lessons, morals, knowledge, wisdom. Hopefully you guys could take something back and apply it in any area of your life. Now, it is about the conversation. I do my best not to make it so interview style because the pure goal is for you guys to hopefully feel as if you're sitting down next to us. So with that, let's just dive right into it. I got a very special guest next to me. I think there's something very unique and special going on with him, and that's why I invited him over to do an episode. He is in a unique time in his entrepreneurial journey.
That's a good way to put it. It's a great
Spencer
way to put it.
Berke, man, I appreciate you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Oh, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you know what? I think I really mean it when I say I think there's something special really going on with you. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show. I kind of feel like we kind of have a lot of similarities to some extent, and hopefully we could kind of identify that.
I think so.
Yeah, you know, I think there's something really special going on with you. I see a lot of when I think of you, I think a lot about hard work, dedication, honesty, and just grit, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
You know, you have a lot of stuff going on. Spencer Berke, he just opened up his office in Laguna Hills, Berke Marketing, last week. Sorry, I couldn't go to that, by the way.
Oh, that's all right, no problem.
And, you know, he has a lot of things going on, and I can't wait to, you know, just share his story. So, Spencer, I don't know if you were able to watch some of the previous episodes, but really, you know, again, I do very little editing, just a conversation, just really about you.
Sure.
I want everybody to know who you are, what you do, and really just your story. Like what brought you to where you are today and everything else for the future.
Sure. Yeah.
So let's start off exactly where you grew up.
So originally I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So Midwestern boy, grew up from about, I'd say I was in Michigan until about age 14.
Okay.
So then I moved out to California when I was 15 and then kind of started a whole new chapter of my life in San Diego.
Okay.
So I think, I was born in Michigan, but I technically grew up in San Diego.
Okay.
I think because from 0 to 14, it was just kind of like running around. You don't really know what's going on. You're just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But once you hit that high school age, you start to realize kind of, you know, this is life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think technically I say I'm from San Diego, but originally from Michigan.
Okay. What age did you come to San Diego?
So I was about 14 or 15. So that was about 2004.
2004.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What was it? Do you think Michigan kind of had kind of shaped your personality a little bit, or was it more San Diego?
San Diego for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Most definitely. I was much more aware in San Diego, and it was just it was so much culture shock.
Okay.
At a young age, because I was used to the snow, building stuff, ATVs, you know, seasons. I was used to different weather. And when I moved to San Diego, it was 75 and sunny all year long. Mm-hmm. So there was no transition. So the first year we had Christmas on the beach with a small Christmas tree, which I thought was pretty cool. But definitely I consider myself a California boy now.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So 14 years old in San Diego, where did it all begin with Spencer at that age in San Diego?
So I've definitely gone through this a couple of times, and I could go on and on, but I think in a nutshell, the whole background story of what shaped me was at age 14, my father passed away. So basically that was what shaped who I am. Okay. He passed away. We moved to San Diego to have a fresh start. Ended up being homeless for a little bit and kind of seeing like rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of discovered a few passions that saved me. Where photography and cars came in hand of like my therapy. Yeah. And then that's what turned into my passion, then turned into my career. Okay. So that's kind of where everything started for me at age 14, going through depression. Father just passed away, watching my mother grieve with everything to the point of like, you know, I'm 14 years old. I don't have anyone to really guide me. Mm-hmm. I had to figure out what am I going to do to not only be happy, but just to get by every day. Mm-hmm. So photography and cars is kind of what saved me from going down the wrong end of drugs and abuse and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So it sounded like it was a huge struggle, but you were able to find some creative outlooks kind of just to where it was therapeutic for you.
I had no choice because I didn't want to be sad and depressed. And I knew that like those two things made me happy. And instinctively, like I knew deep down I had to hold on to that because that's what was going to save me. That's what was going to make something kind of grow out of nothing and make a really bad situation into something better, my distraction.
Do you think that was probably the beginning of kind of how you outlook with life? How sometimes, bad things happen to you and some things that you can't control, but then you get, you got to move on and hopefully, I don't want to say keep your mind off it, but maybe just, just move on with life and just start looking at the positive things.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the thing that I learned the most from that was that you have to find a positive in every negative.
Yes.
Even though I was going through a really hard time in my life, there was always something that could make me happier that, okay, well, even though I'm going through a situation right now, I live in an area where there's so much opportunity. Yeah. There's amazing weather. There's the best cars out there, not even just cars in general, but exotic cars. And that's what made me happy was, Lamborghini, Ferrari, really nice cars. And I had full access to everything within all San Diego area. Not just that, but Orange County and LA. So I had a lot that I knew that was in my future that I could explore. So I had a lot to look forward to. Okay.
Walk me through the journey that kind of started you. So obviously you got into photography and cars. How did kind of that, I guess, career or that hobby kind of evolve, I guess you could say?
So I think when I was 13, my mom bought me like a little Kodak camera, like a digital one. Okay. And I started taking pictures around the house, and I had it with me when we moved to San Diego. So what I would do is when I was bored or sad or whatever, I'd walk outside and take photos. And I started taking photos of like flowers. And then my apartment complex, one of my neighbors had one of those F-150 Lightning trucks. And I was like, it's kind of cool. So I started taking pictures of that. And then I started noticing how many nice cars there were around San Diego. And I started taking pictures of everything. One day, my mom and I were kind of walking around town, and we discovered a car dealership. And I saw all these insane cars that I played in my Need for Speed and Gran Turismo and Forza and everything. And I was like, I have to go in there. So the next day we went in, and it was a dealership called Symbolic Motors, where they were Lamborghini, Bugatti, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Celine.
So exotic car dealership. Okay.
Yeah. And that's kind of where it started, where I had the camera, I had all these cars, I'd go and take photos, and I realized, not really telling myself, but I just knew that's what made me happy. Yeah. So I just started doing that consistently. Every weekend I'd go there. And that's kind of where just that escape for me was so important that I went there, because it made me kind of feel better and kind of have that distraction. And then, sure enough, that kind of led into me. My whole childhood was just cars and photography. And then I realized I could make a career out of that.
Nice. Now, before the vlogging, before Berke Marketing, social media, the identity that you have now, you were known as I think that the photographer.
Yeah.
Right?
So my Instagram name was That Photographer. Okay. Yeah, and that's that was what started the marketing side of it for me. Yeah. Where I used to use MySpace a lot to advertise my photography, where I'd go to car shows and I would hand out business cards with my MySpace link so you could check out all my photos. Oh, nice. And then I would, I'd go to Cars and Coffee, with Mustang crews or Corvette crews, whatever it could be. And I'd hand out cards to everyone, and I'd shake their hand. And I was like 15 or 16. Dang. And they'd reach out to me like, yeah, I need photos for my garage. Can you come shoot a car for me? And that's kind of how I built my database. But then as the marketing side grew, I knew I had to have like an identity, and everyone called me That Photographer. In high school. So that's kind of where the Instagram name came out, is when I opened an Instagram account like the month after Instagram came out, and I was like, I don't know what to call myself. And then I realized, all right, That Photographer's pretty cool. That Photographer. Yeah.
I find it remarkable because like 15 years old, you're shaking people's hands, you're taking pictures, you're already passing out business cards. That's amazing, man.
It definitely wasn't what every other 15-year-old was doing.
Yeah, no, I'm just like at a young age, you were already trying to establish yourself, like who you were, your specialty, what your passion, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's going back to knowing that those two things, cars and photography, was holding me together. I knew that if I stayed busy with it, I would be distracted from all the bad things in life. So the more that I could do it, the more variations, whether it was taking photos just for my portfolio or booking gigs to shoot cars, I knew that both of those would keep me away from like the depression. So I did that as much as I could. And then just networked every day. Yeah.
So taking the pictures of these exotic cars, very nice cars, did that lead you, where did maybe the car realm kind of lead you to?
So I realized that as I started growing my career through the car industry, there were so many gaps that people needed help with. As far as like, if a guy comes in and wants to buy a Lambo, he probably owns a business. there's not many people that work for somebody else that can afford those cars, especially at like,
makes sense.
Yeah, especially like the Bugatti Caliper and like just like the higher end cars that are really expensive. Most of those guys have a business, but the thing I had learned is that I used even Zynga before MySpace.
Oh man, Zynga! I've heard that word in a long time.
I use Zynga all the time, all the time, and going from Zynga to MySpace to Instagram to Facebook to Blogger to YouTube, I realized that could also be a value to a company because all the attention is on all these platforms. Yeah. Why shouldn't the businesses be there as well? Yeah. So I started offering help to those people who bought those cars, and everyone's like, yeah, I have no idea what any of that is. And I educated them on why it's important. And then going from the photography side over to the marketing side, it happened almost like accidentally because I was good at it. I knew what I was doing. I just offered it to other people. And then I realized, wait, I can charge for this. Because it's my time and my education, my values. So that's kind of what transitioned in from photography to cars to marketing. Dang. I just saw the gap in the industry.
Yeah. Did you, meeting these people, obviously, because like you said, they were business owners. Do you feel like you learned a lot from them, or was it just like, just knowing that there was that gap, that was when you were able to identify, oh, there's, this is a great opportunity for me to, because it seems like, okay, so Zynga was blogging, and then you said MySpace too, right? So it was social media and all the new platforms that these businesses were not doing. Yeah. Man. So I think you mentioned though, but you started working at a car dealership, right?
Yeah. So going back to when I was like 14, when I first went into that dealership, I met everyone there, all the sales guys, the general managers, the porters, the guys who wash the cars, everybody, the truck guys that delivered the trucks. Every time I went there, I made sure that when I took photos and videos, I didn't just take pictures. I shook hands. Yeah. So I met everybody. Yeah. So to the point where when I was like 15 and 16, when I go in there with all my friends from high school, every sales guy like, hey, what's up, Spencer? Everyone know me by my name. Yeah. So that built credibility right away that I was good with people. I was consistent. I was persistent. And, I was always going in there. So after from 14 to 18, I asked like all the time, of course, hey, are there any job openings? I'll wash cars. I'll answer phone calls. One day they had a meeting where they were looking for a new receptionist. And I guess one of my buddies, Mike, really good friend of mine, he threw in my name and they're like, yeah, let's try it. So Mike calls me like, hey man, do you want a job interview? That second I dropped out of high school, went there for a part-time job, moved out of my parents' house, and I slept on a couch for $300 a month in a 2-bedroom apartment with 5 dudes. I slept on a couch for like 4 months. And I just did it. I got a job there answering phone calls. And then sure enough, after like 4 months, I went to full time. Nice. Yeah. So that's kind of how it transitioned. Then just started off with that.
And what age were you at this time?
So I was 17 turning 18. Had to wait till I was 18 to work there.
Okay. Makes sense.
And then as soon as I was 18, they offered me a position. And that's when I just went all in.
Man, that's crazy. You know what's funny? I want to go back before I forget this. Sometimes I'll be thinking of something. I know I want to bring it out here. I think nowadays, because obviously your specialty is social media, but I feel like going back to your store, what I find unique is you were shaking hands with these people. I feel like social media nowadays is kind of taking that away, that very personal one-on-one interaction, kind of like me and you. You know what I mean? Like, I could have just hit you up and said, hey, let's do a video call and record this podcast. But I'm not about that. I like the interaction in person. And you were doing that, again, at such a young age. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, the social media back then kind of didn't have those, I guess you could say, they didn't have like those platforms where you were able to do, messaging back and forth.
There's no feature to do it.
Yeah, no features, exactly. Yeah. But I imagine you still do that. You still shake people's hands. You still love to meet people one-on-one. You still...
I use it to my advantage because what happens now is that so many people are consumed with email, phone call, Skype, video. That's great. It closes deals, it gets business done. But when you get some guy who does a normal... firm handshake, good eye contact conversation. Yeah. That goes a long way. Yeah. So a lot of people retain that and remember it because they go, that's the guy that shook my hand hard and looked at me in the eyes. Yeah. And not some dude who emailed me with his amazing services.
Yeah.
So.
And what's funny, back in episode 3 with my guest, Amar, he was talking about how it's kind of scary, like not even just meeting people, but it's kind of scary how some people are actually partnering up with people they haven't even met. you know what I
Scary.
mean, doing business or
Yeah.
even just anything too. You know what I mean? It's kind of scary. But anyway, what about, so when did you start vlogging? How did the whole vlogging thing start?
So one of the hardest parts for me about vlogging is that I was really insecure.
Okay.
There's one thing that I always realize is that from like maybe like 14, I realized I looked a lot older for my age, and I was really depressed. I hated it because my hairline was going back, and I felt like I just looked older. And like I get people who thought I was like 40 and I was 17, and it hurt. Like I cry at night because I'm like, I don't want to look like this. Even when I lost weight or changed glasses, I still looked a certain way. So I got to a point where like, you know, a lot of photographers want to be behind the lens. They don't want to be in front of it.
Yeah.
Because that's where their creativity is.
Yes. Yeah.
So I went like, you know, all these years filming cars, making videos, taking pictures, showing the front end of it. I never showed me talking about this is my escape. This is what makes me happy. This is what shaped who I am. So I started watching YouTube, you know, at a young age, like 15 or 14, and I started an account. And I just started uploading cool videos, whatever. Sure enough, I started watching Casey Neistat. And I started watching this guy, Christian Guzman, and he was a fitness guy. And I realized that all these guys were sharing like the process, opening up their own gym, opening up their own office, having these big deals where Casey sells his first show to HBO or whatever it could be, or Christian starts a clothing line called Alpha Elite, whatever it could be. Yeah. And that was like, holy crap, this is cool. Yeah. So one day I bought a camera, video camera, and I put it on my bedroom floor and I faced it towards me and I just started talking. And it was the weirdest thing. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Yes. But sure enough, the interest was so high that, you know, overnight people were like, this is pretty cool. So I started documenting all the workouts I was doing, all the cars I was shooting, all the behind the scenes of what it's like to work at a car dealership. And, you know, it was like 10,000 followers a month consistently for almost a whole year. Wow. And it just blew up. And I realized that people wanted to see it. And not so much of like the cars only, but me sharing the story. This is how I do it. This is how I did it. This is why I'm doing it. And then people can get value from that. Yeah. Because you can get entertainment value from cars. But when it comes down to like education, there's depth there. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like people who watch YouTube channels, they value the honesty. They value the transparency like we were talking about a little bit earlier. And you're kind of showing the behind the scenes of what actually goes on at the dealership and what you're doing with your photography and all that stuff. Was it, so like you said, it was hard to start vlogging, right? Because the only reason I bring this up is because when I started vlogging a little bit, my wife just bought me a camera. It's like, here, go, like, do you. Yeah. And, you know, I was one of those people who, you know, you would record and I would just retake like nonstop, retake. And then, you know, until this day, I actually put those videos down and I just have the shows up from, this podcast. But it seems like obviously consistency is where it really pays off. Oh, yeah, right? Big time. I mean, I think the biggest thing I look at is when you can start looking past how you look or how you talk or the comment section or what people say or how you get judged. You start to realize that, you know, life is really short. And if you have a message to share it as soon as you can. Yeah. Don't worry about losing weight or getting new clothes or changing this about yourself or doing that, whatever it could be. If you wait a year, you just waited a whole long time where you wasted all those days where you could have been doing something about sharing your life, sharing your career, your passion, whatever it could be. And you have no idea of how much growth you could have had just from sharing your life, even once a week. Like, I was doing daily vlogs for a year. And then when I quit my 9 to 5, I didn't have any content to film. So I just said, let's do one video a week. I live in Southern California. There's plenty of car shows. There's plenty of events. I can drive. I can make videos. Yeah. So there's no excuse for people not to film because I like that. Yeah. So you have to look at all the advantages you have, not how much you don't like how you look or don't like what people say. Yeah. Because I did that and I let it hold me back. But the fact that I got past that, it got me brand deals with Shell, with Honda, with Dyson Vacuums, with Michelin, some of the biggest names in the industry because I didn't hold back. Yeah. I said, I don't care. I'm just going to film what I want. Yeah. And that was the point where things kind of took off to even the next level because there was no mental blockage. It was just my creativity going at 100%. Dang. It's crazy because I think what a lot of people find too is their excuse is not only they're afraid of the camera, but also it's time consuming. Yeah, it is time consuming. But you like you said, you were just doing it once a week. But you talked about how you left your main job, so you were full time at the dealership, and then you decided to leave. What made you decide to leave? And talk to me about that. So I worked at Symbolic Motors when I was 18. And then as I got a little bit older, we transitioned into another dealership name. So that dealership was sold. And then I worked at Lamborghini and McLaren Newport Beach. So I moved to Orange County when I was like 19, 20.
How was that moving to there? Another culture shock? Or?
Yeah, I got out of a relationship where I was heavily in love and I was heartbroken. And then I got a job offer being promoted, like double the money, double everything, living in Orange County. So I was super happy.
So it was a great opportunity.
Oh, I said yes right away.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. I fell in love with Orange County. There's a lot of cool stuff around town and the car scene is just insane. Yeah. So I fell in love with it. But went back and forth, had family in San Diego and friends, missed them, moved back and forth. And then I worked for a few smaller dealerships doing social media, started doing sales a little bit. And then I just realized one day I was like, man, I don't want to build somebody else's dream. I don't mind it because those 7 years from 18 to 24, 25, I learned so much. Yeah. I retained so much information. And I realized that at one point when I went to work, I wasn't happy. I was like, why am I doing this? Yeah. If I have the opportunity to go do something on my own, why not do it now? So when I was 25, I was like, what do I want for my 30th birthday? And I was thinking about, why am I thinking about that? And I'm like, I want to be able to turn 30 and look back and be like, I built an empire from 25 to 30. No drinking, no smoking, no dating, no going out, just fucking grind super hard. Let's just see what happens. It's 5 years of my life that, okay, I worked, I tried. If it works, great. If it doesn't, whatever. I'll learn from it all. So when I walked into work that day, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to try it. And at that point, like I was paying all my mom's bills, living in a really nice place in Costa Mesa. I had my M3. Like there were all these bills I had and it was scary. But I think jumping in 100%, I learned the best from. I retained the most information. So one day I just said, screw it, let's try it. And then that was probably one of the scariest things I'd ever done. Yeah. Because when I drove away from that last day and I had no money coming in after that, dude, I was like freaking out. Yeah.
So did you have a strategy or a plan? Because obviously, okay, first you identified like, you know what, I'm just going to try this thing. I'm not happy. I don't want to build another person's dream. I want to build my dream. Then you identified, hey, let's just grind it out until I'm 30, see what happens. But did you kind of have a plan, or was it just more like, no, I'm done. All right, moving on to the next thing. Let's see how I'm going to build this thing.
So thankfully, I knew a couple of people that needed help with social media. Okay. So like the last 3 months before I had quit, I was emailing, DMing, calling a couple clients saying, hey, can I do your social media for $500 a month? Whatever it was. And, I just needed enough to pay my house and my car, and I could eat ramen noodles, no problem. So I made enough to where I could do that. And then I didn't really have it locked in, but I had a couple credit cards. I had some money saved up, but not enough to last me more than like 3 months. Yeah. So I knew I had a time limit. And once I got to that point of like, maybe this could work, even 1%, is when I quit. Because then I had faith of like going from this kind of downfall of hating my job to rock bottom to a point where I'm like, even if there's 0.001% of me believing in myself, just go. Yeah. Because you know that when you get thrown into a situation, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to be able to apply your creativity 100%. No one's going to be there to block your creativity. You can do whatever you want. And when I knew those things were possible and they were in front of me, I was like, dude, you have to go. And this inner voice was like, go, 100%. I'm getting goosebumps. Look at that. You see that? Yeah, dude. Like thinking about that made me realize I believed in myself. Let's go.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy though? It's like human nature kind of, we go into like a state of survival mode sometimes when you're put in a position, because like you said, you probably didn't have it like more than 3 months worth of living days. Expenses. Yeah. And then you just know like, okay, I'm in this situation now, and now I got to grind because otherwise I'm not going to survive. So it's just crazy how like that human nature just brings you to that.
I think that fire under your feet, like I kind of like that feeling. Yeah. Which is weird because it's like scary as hell. Yeah. But it pushes me. Yeah. Like anytime I get treated with disrespect when I know on my end I'm doing something right, like a client who's just really upset about something because their day was bad, or, I never let it get to me, but it almost motivates me. Yeah. Because I'm like, I want to treat people better. I want to do things better for myself. I want to be a better human, then, you know, I never want to be in that position. So I always think that just the overall, I don't know where I was going with that, but overall thought, like just thinking about there's so many positives and negatives. You know, I wasn't happy at my 9 to 5, but I have a really, really good creativity side of my mind that I can apply to make money.
Why not harness that creative side?
Harness it 100%. Yeah. So that's what I did.
So let's go back. I'm going to go a little backwards. What do you think got you into social media? Because you started at a young age, right? The Zanga, MySpace, like when those came out, did you just automatically get drawn to it, or did you know you were good at it, or like I mean,
I've never really thought about it, but I think my brother got me into it.
Okay.
He was definitely heavily involved in like the tech community. He's 32, I'm 26, so he's a little bit older than me.
Okay.
But he was really into building computers, online forums, that kind of thing. And I saw there was like a place for me to go where I could write out how I felt about life and kind of share my transition from Michigan to San Diego. And I think, honestly, I had so many friends from Michigan that were like, you know, and we came here to California for a vacation. And because of what happened with my family, we ended up just staying. And that's how we were homeless, because some family issues and money and whatever it could be. But I wanted to share what it was like in California to show my friends in Michigan, kind of like, hey, here's some photos, here's my day, here's what I did. And it turned into like more than just my Michigan friends. Like people worldwide were like, yo, this is kind of cool. Like this sunset down in La Jolla looks awesome. And it just turned into this thing of like, I can share my life online. This is pretty fun.
Yeah. So a lot of people, I'm sure, found like a lot of hope and a lot of like, man, like I want to do what he did. Like he was able to move out here and do something great with his talent. You know what I mean? So going back to your story, you left your job, your full-time job, around 25 years old?
Yeah, so I was 25.
Okay, 25. And you started doing social media for a few companies that you already were planning to see with, like you contacted with them. Where did I guess that's Berke Marketing. How did that journey go? How did it like start initially in the beginning?
So when I was younger, maybe like 20 years old, I started a company called Devoted Society, and it was a clothing line. And it was really heavily inspired by people like Christian Guzman and those YouTubers and people who had merch. I just wanted to have like people wear them in the gym, wear them at car shows, and really just show the power that social media had. When I was building that company, we had like maybe 1,000 people come to one of my car shows at one of the car dealerships we did. We did like Cars and Coffee every month. And there were more people wearing my brand than the dealership brand. And the owner of the business of the dealership was like, we have to do whatever you're doing. So he took notice. Yeah. So that following Monday, we all sat down. He's like, Spencer, what are you doing? How do you do it? And I explained them. I consulted them. And then I realized at that point, I can also consult companies now too. So there was a huge other part of my business there too. But then, man, I got super lost there. What was the question again?
No. So basically, okay, I just wanted like starting at 25 years old, like Berke Marketing. How did that? Where did that kind of all start? Here?
So Devoted Society was the first business I ever started, and I realized that I went through the whole thing of starting a corporation, an LLC, using LegalZoom, bank statements, getting a bank account. I knew all that. So I knew if I went to start another company, I already knew how to understand taxes and S corp versus LLC, and getting CPA stuff set up. So when I started Berke Marketing, I was already ahead of the game. I knew how to do everything legally. So processing money was simple. I knew how to do it where I could run a business. And then I saw the potential. So as soon as I started getting the ball rolling with Berke Marketing, I just kind of went all in on reaching out to people, talking to multiple people around town, asking all my current clients that I had from the dealership, saying, hey, I do social media now. If you need help, let me know. And sure enough, it just kind of turned into like referral after referral. And then everyone's like, yeah, I need to try it.
So it started blowing up, obviously.
Yeah, I got to the point where I was making more money with social media within 6 months than I was at the dealership job.
Wow.
Yeah.
When that happened, describe to me that feeling. Like, were you just like, wow? Like, did it kind of like confirm, like, wow, like I left my main job there. It's a grind right now, but now that you've validated that you started making more money, how did that feel?
I felt crazy, dude. I was blown away at the fact that I mean, one of the things I try to do is I never try to slow down and think about what I'm doing because it almost makes me trip out. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So I just try to not do that. But when I sit down and think about it, I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy. Like, I take care of my mom completely. I don't have a lot of family. A lot of my friends are like, what are you doing? You know, people in my YouTube comments were like, bro, you left an amazing job with a great office with Bugattis and Lambos in front of you to drive them every day, to take photos, your dream, whatever, to go work out of my bed in my house and not share any content. People are so confused.
Yeah.
But I saw the long picture that I could build an agency within a year to 2 years that could carry me on the rest of my life to go not only buy those cars, but buy a whole dealership.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what held me together, is knowing like, in 10 to 15 years, if I keep doing this, if I go from, you know, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way up to $2 million a month, I could end up buying anything I want.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of knowing that it's the grind and the behind the scene things that not everyone needs to know about besides yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you, I was just going to ask you too, and I'm glad you brought it up. What was the response like when you know, again, you left that main job? You said some people were leaving some comments, and did that? I would imagine that fueled you a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it hurt because I had such a good amount of supporters that were so against me. Yeah, like they were like, "Dude, you're so stupid. Why'd you do that?" Oh, yeah. I mean,
and they were these were subscribers on your YouTube channel. Wow.
Yeah, like long-term subscribers. Yeah, they were like, they didn't see it. And the funniest thing is, the past 2 weeks since I opened up the office, some of my biggest haters who would start Facebook groups like I Hate Spencer Burke and go in there and talk shit about me.
Wow.
Oh, there's a big group of people that did that. Yeah. Like 4 of the main guys reached out to me and were like, "Hey, congrats on your new office." And I'm like, excuse my language, but who the fuck are you to say that to me? Yeah. After how you treated me and what you said about me? Yeah, yeah. You know, like, why? What? Yeah. You know,
it's funny how the way they treat you just changed all of a sudden.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So that's a whole new thing I'm learning right now too, is like, it's unbelievable how people will treat you when
you're down or like you're on a new journey or something, like, you know, totally. And all of a sudden they see that you're prospering, I guess you could say. And all of a sudden they're treating you.
It's unbelievable. But yeah, that's a whole new thing I'm going through right now. It's just the people part of it.
So it's crazy because it's funny. I've always found that, you know, the most valuable feedback are the ones you dislike. You know what I mean? And with these people making these outrageous comments who you thought were your supporters, all of a sudden, now they're coming back to you. And
that's where, like, when it's midnight and you're laying in your pillow and you're digging deep in your head and you're thinking about what people say, that's where you have to fight the hardest. Yeah. For yourself, just to be like, dude, it's okay. Like, I talk to myself a lot, not in like a weird way, but in the car. Like,
I do too.
Yeah. So I'll be in the car, like driving, like, hey, dude, like, you know, maybe you don't have enough to pay your credit card bill this week, but next week you can make up with getting 2 more clients. Like, it's okay. You can do this. And I would do that when I was at my really low state of like income, and not just income. I mean, that's just a factor, but your mental health, like, it takes a toll when you become an entrepreneur. Yeah. It takes a lot on your body and your mind. I mean, you learn so much as you go, but I think, like I said, that's the best way I learn. That's the best way I retain, just jump in.
Well, again, one of the things that I find very special about you is you're very honest. You know, you let people know what it's like all the struggles, like you said, like every day is a different day, right? Yeah. One day you're like, you got a fire up your ass and you're just like, you're killing it, you know, getting all these clients. And then there's other days that you're just like, man, like, you know, I'm mentally drained. Like, what do you think keeps you going? Like, is there something like that as a constant reminder that pushes you through those days? Because, again, I know from watching your stories, there's a lot of days that are not the best.
Yeah. I mean, I share the hardest days of being sad or depressed or not getting enough sleep, but I have a few pictures on my wall. So kind of like an inspiration board. But the main thing I look at is definitely my mom, because, you know, we slept in a studio as big as this room on tile floor with, you know, my mom would steal food, or we would have to find a way to get food to just feed me. Yeah. And I'd watch her not eat, and I'd have to, you know, I was 14 years old watching that. And it's like, this is weird. This is not what most kids go through. So definitely my mom, you know, I pay all her bills now, and I've been taking care of her for over a year. I bought her car, and I feel good about that. Now I want to get her a house. So that's kind of that's a little bit of a thing that pushes me. I think also proving to myself that I can do it, because the first few months of seeing those comments, I wanted to prove to other people that I could do it. Yeah. But I realized it didn't matter. It was about myself.
It was about you.
100%. Yeah. So that feeling you get when you accomplish something like, you know, hitting 100,000 subscribers on YouTube took me 13 years.
Yeah.
That's a long
Congrats
time.
on that, by the way.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
it. You know what's
that.
funny? I'm about to hit just 100 subscribers.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I was at one point. Yeah. I saw that and I'm like, damn, dude, that's awesome. But that's where I was at one point. So going from, you know, seeing these small accomplishments to these bigger ones that, you know, those are the things that keep you going. But I have a couple of things. Like I want to buy a car dealership, the one I worked at, because, you know, there were a few things that I went through that made me upset and I want to go buy for myself. And I realized I wanted to get revenge and I wanted to prove people wrong. But then I realized that doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's not the best intent or the best way to go about it, right?
No. So the last year I've looked at it like, what do I want for myself? And that's what's motivated me. Yeah. Take care of my mom, buy a dealership. You know, I want to buy a first gen Lamborghini Gallardo. I want to buy these things that represent what I've been around my whole life is my mom, cars, and photography. Yeah. And I think those three things, like even if it's materialistic, it's still something that makes me happy. Yeah. You know, and it's a goal. Yeah. Yeah. I think, again, talking about how me and you kind of relate, I kind of see this in you and just, you know, again, just tell me if it's opposite. But with me, I hold myself to high expectations. I like to aim high. And I think I kind of see that with you too, because you've set some pretty crazy goals. And, you know, some people kind of have a disagreement with aiming high, because then if you aim way, way too high, you might disappoint yourself if it's unrealistic. Are you like that? Because I feel like you are. I get that sense. Yeah, I mean, I set goals that are crazy. Like I'm saving $20 million right now to buy the dealership, so I have an account for that. And you know, I posted on my.
I love it, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's cool because I get feedback from guys who are millionaires, like guys who have Bugattis and McLaren Sennas and P1s. Like, you know, these guys are big time, and they DM me because they follow me. Like, dude, that's no problem for you. You can do it. So hearing that from entrepreneurs that have already made it. Or it's so motivating. But then you get the guys who are like, oh, that's insane. You're not going to do that. Both those ends make me motivated. Yeah. But, you know, I've set some pretty big goals. Like, you know, I want to make $2 million a month in the next 2 or 3 years. That's a goal. Yeah. You know, I want to have 900 employees. I have 2 right now. Yeah. But I have 2 more than I did last year. 2 more employees. Yeah. So
and that's better than nothing.
That's better than nothing. So you look at it, I'm already progressing in every aspect of all the goals I've set. Yeah. So you can set the highest goals you want because I'll never disappoint myself. Yeah. I know that I tried if I didn't get that. And even when I get to that point, I'll go, okay, 4 million a month, 10 million a month. And I would keep going. Yeah. It's funny because one of my outrageous goals, I was like, okay, I think it was like last month, a couple of weeks, I was like, oh man, I have 1,500 combined watches and views. And then I told myself, you know what? By the end of the year, I want to do 150,000. And then the most outrageous one, I was like, okay, in 6 months, what really surprised me, I was like, man, I can't believe I've reached these people from different countries. That really was an eye-opener to me. And I would only imagine when you started doing YouTube and stuff, how some people respond to that. But anyway, and then I told myself, you know what? I want 50 countries. You know what I mean? Yeah. But again, it just goes back, like, why not aim high? Because then from there, you'll kind of exceed your own expectations. Oh, yeah. You know? Most definitely. So let's talk about Berke. Well, by the way, was Berke Marketing, was that the name? Yeah. So, I mean, it's registered in California as Spencer Berke Marketing. Okay. But it flows better with all my social media handles, just Berke Marketing. Yeah. So it's just easier to remember. So describe me, you don't have to go into full detail because I'm sure it's very, very detailed. Just describe to me kind of like, okay, I'm a company. Obviously, I know social media is where it's at. You know what I mean? As far as advertising, marketing, getting more engagement. Kind of walk me through in just brief, like how you could kind of help a company. So when I first started the company, it was strictly just social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, those 3 main platforms, where what we would do is we would go to a business and I would take photos of their product or their service, and then we would advertise on those platforms. So for instance, my first client was a stereo shop. So he sold subwoofers, amps, backup cameras, everything like that. So I'd go there, twice a month, take photos, go back on Instagram, say, on Monday, I'd post about a new speaker that came out. On Tuesday, a new police radar detector, whatever it could be. And then I'd push it out there to the public because I knew how to use hashtags, geotags, how to use engagement, how to use stories with hashtags. I knew all these strategies that could build a company. As time went on, I had maybe 10 clients the first few months, actually maybe 4 or 5. Then I got to 10 clients and then 15, then 20. And then once I got up to like 30, I was like, nonstop. I mean, I was busy as hell myself. Then I realized I had to start outsourcing a little bit of help. So what I did is I hired a website designer who basically I would contact and say, hey, if my clients need a website, can you help me?
Yeah.
So he helps me with websites. I have one guy, same guy, he does SEO. And then I realized I need to hire people in-house to help with the physical posting, captions, writing. So I hired my first employee, and then we built it to an agency where we do social media, we do SEO and websites, we do graphic design, we do a little bit of advertising here and there, and then we do video and photo production. So we have a team of around 10 people that we can send out to do photos, videos, that we can do social media management, that we can do pretty much anything that comes to digital marketing. I can handle now.
Yeah.
The first few months, I had no idea to do anything. I couldn't do anything besides social media. Now we can do anything.
Is it hard in regards to social media? Because from my understanding, social media is always evolving, right? They're always upgrading. There's always changes in algorithms, things like that. Is it hard to adapt to that, being that that's your business?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is so many people complain, and I hate when people complain. It's fine to do it once in a while, but like,
let it all out, man.
Yeah, the thing I look at,
brother.
So many people are like, oh, the algorithm and the way that pictures get posted, and why am I seeing a post from Monday when it's Wednesday, and all these things that it's like you have to learn how to adapt.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. Is that it's like life. If it starts raining outside, you got to put on a coat. You're not going to stand there and complain. Oh, it's raining. It's like
your complaint's not going to do anything.
No, it's not going to do anything. So if you can find a way to, solve a way to adapt to something that's more comfortable for you, then, that's how I look at social media. No matter how things change or platforms or whatever, we just adapt to it. So that's how we learn as we go. It's like, if you can't control it, why not find a better way to work around it?
Yeah. Let's talk about, again, another thing that I love about you is that you're willing to help a lot of people. And I know that, obviously you're very active in social media with your account. And I've seen you just make a public announcement. Hey guys, I'm going to be doing some shooting. Any photographers in the area, come through. It'll be a great lesson, teaching you this and that. Are you kind of diving into kind of like a mentor space? Or are you just really just trying to help people?
I think I realized as I evolved as a business owner that I want to find where the highest value of my time is. Because me writing captions for a stereo shop is fine, but it's not my highest value.
Yes.
I can get super creative with the photo, with the caption, but it's not my highest level of value. So I realized that, okay, maybe I can start consulting. So I've consulted a few companies where I help them with social media. I started doing some public speaking. I started doing a couple events here and there. And then I realized, well, what can I really do to help people while still monetizing it and, have an impact. So I started a Berke University where it's basically Berke Marketing, but you learn how to do it all. So I teach how to do the agency, I teach how to become an influencer, and I teach businesses how to do social media. So there's 3 aspects of it where anyone can really get value from it. And it's definitely one of my highest values is that I feel like I'm pretty good with communication. I'm really good at teaching. Those like all my strong points I monetized on 100%.
Like you're doubling down. Basically.
Yeah, so doubling down on what I'm great at, not what I'm good at. So all the good stuff I'm able to hire people to help me with, and I can kind of critique them and help them. So it's good. But the stuff I'm great at, I'm going all in on right now.
So that's cool. Berke University is about to launch, right?
Yeah, January 1st.
January 1st.
Yeah, so we've been filming videos nonstop. It's all video format of me teaching how to use hashtags, how to set up a corporation, how to write contracts, how to reach out to people. One of the biggest things I talk about is the firm handshake and eye contact. I really give a big lesson on how important that is.
Yeah.
So I think that this will help a lot of people. And the thing I look at is I'm not about the Lambos and the jets and the big houses. I'm about having the free time to go see my mom on a Tuesday or being able to go buy a nice dinner at Javier's for a celebration and not stress about it. Yeah. That's a lifestyle that I live and I want to share.
Not feel guilty, right?
No, not at all. So I'm trying to share like, an average good dude's life, not like you got to have a jet and a plane and a car. It's like, no, dude, I'm content with everything I have. How can I bring more value to people to understand that?
There's more value to your time and, just how you feel versus, the nice things, right?
Yeah.
And the nice things are great, right? Because you could look at a Lambo and people might think, oh, that guy he likes the finer things in life. But little do they know, like, there's more to this Lambo than just
it represents so much.
It represents so much more, right? What would Berke University, it's funny that you were talking about, you were teaching people how to shake their hands and how to, make eye contact. We were talking about basically how people are missing that missing how to interact with another person.
Yeah.
I mean,
101.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this target, this audience that are, that you want to get into Berke University, are they people that are in business already, or are they people that are kind of like starting up?
Well, this is what I acted on was demand, where my DMs were just flooded with how do I start an agency? How do I become an influencer? How do I do better social media for my business? So, I can give people a quick DM, say, hey, DM 100 people a week. All you need is one person to say yes, add $1,000 a month, and there you go. Get an extra G in your pocket a month for posting on Instagram.
Yeah.
I can do quick stuff like that. But then they're like, how do I start a company? How do I do payroll? How do I hire somebody?
So you started listening to your audience.
I started listening to where the demand was. Some people don't need social media management every month. They just need to have a course on how to learn how to take pictures of the cars they work on and post on Instagram every day. They don't want to pay an agency to do that. So why not teach it?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to find ways to monetize at an affordable price, not thousands, but hundreds, where they can just sign up once, learn this, and they're good. And then they can come back and say, hey, man, I got a new career. I got freedom because of what you taught. And that's kind of what I'm going after is I want to share that. I want to bring value to that aspect of where the demand is.
It seems like a lot of your audience and the people that follow you, they reach out to you and you reply to everybody, I would imagine. And I think, what, by the way, I drives me crazy when people don't engage with their customers. I got to let that out there. But anyway,
I feel you.
But anyway, so thanks for responding to my DM.
Yeah, of course, dude. Well, I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
Yeah, so. I know, right? I would have went to your office and been like, hey, I got my microphone, you know what I mean? But anyway, describe to me, obviously your audience, they reach out to you to DM. What makes you, describe to me a time, that made you so happy? Like someone told you something that it really affected their life. Is there one in particular that just kind of comes out to you and you were just like, wow, it really reaffirms everything I've been doing, it's good. It's making an impact. Because that's what it's about, right? We're about, we're about business. We're about doing what we're doing. We're about creativity. We're about putting it out there. But it's really about the impact too, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I look at I think there's been plenty of times where there's a lot of people that come up to me and they're like, hey, because of what you're doing, I'm inspired. And that always makes me feel so happy. Yeah. And I always make sure to take time to talk to those people. But I think it's just the consistency where it's that reminder every day, the DM of hey, dude, you inspire me. I get it every day. Every single day, my DMs are at 99 plus requests of people saying thank you. And it's super humbling to know that just by me sharing what I love makes people realize that they have potential too. Yeah. Because there's not a lot of people out there that will be as transparent as me. I'll share finances. I'll share the struggles. I'll share everything. And I think that's what promotes this connection that is so hard to find. Yeah.
That's why I think people are so drawn to you too. Oh, yeah. Because you're just so transparent. You let it out there and you kind of make it so... Not so it's just realistic. You're making, you're putting it out there and it's just wow, this is what, it really is how it is. And we spoke about this before we started recording, how people are putting this image out there, oh, it's all this, it's all that, flexing on IG and stuff like that. But you're very transparent. I mean, were you scared at first to let it all out there like that?
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of judgment from people and I've had a couple of not mentors, but people I looked up to who would message me hey, careful. And in my head, I'm like, why? And I started questioning the people I looked up to. And I was like, you're no different from me. Yeah. Even if I have this side of you that inspires me, when those people start reaching out saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't share that. Maybe you shouldn't post that. And that made me start to realize I'm starting to make a heavier impact than those people and other people of a lot of people are starting to get this connection of he's open, he's willing to share it. I'm learning from it. I want to know more. And that's kind of what I pushed on was it doesn't matter what people say. It's my choice to put that out there. Yeah. And I'll learn from it if maybe it could be a bad decision or I'll gain from the 300 DMs I get of people saying thank you. Yeah. So there's always this happy medium of that's interesting. Am I going to cross a line or is it going to be okay? Yeah. Well, but you set the line. You get to set the line of how much you share.
Why do you think those people said be careful? Do you think do you think they're just kind of oh man, he needs to be careful, it might hurt his business? Or do you think I don't know, like you said, they know oh, he's making an impact?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. there's a lot of people that are older than me that watch what I do that are jealous, I've realized. And I've had this conversation with my mom where they kind of wish that they started earlier with their career and they have an outlet on social media where it's super easy to comment something on some kid's Instagram saying that's not going to work because it makes them feel better. Yeah. And I've realized that, and I'm okay with that. But it's tough to define why someone would say be careful. But in my head, I think there's a couple things. I think there's definitely jealousy. There's definitely people who are watching out for me and have my back. Yeah. Who are like, hey, maybe you should be careful. And I get it. Like, I understand. There's been a couple times like that. And then other than that, I think that demographic is so used to the old ways of like, I see. You don't need to share that. You shouldn't share that. But the new age now, people want to know that. People want to see that stuff. You know, the profits on a t-shirt or the profits on a social media agency, or they want to learn like, you know, if I need to get a credit card, what's a good company to go to? So all these things that it's so taboo for most people because generation gap that now it's like, if I share it, I'm going to get more value than negativity. Even if I get negativity, the positives that come out of it are going to overweigh it by 10 times. Yeah.
Well, we live in a digital age now, right? And maybe that's what, you know, because we live in that age, like things are completely different than when how they used to run their business and stuff like that. Man. So, you know, we're about to run out of time here. There's one question I do want to ask you, and take your time if you need to. Yeah. But I want to know, because again, this podcast is about your story. You obviously have a lot going on. You know, we talked about the Devoted Society. We talked about Berke Marketing, Berke University. You have some printing too, right? You do like some of the printing stuff?
So there's a couple companies that I had started and put on pause.
Okay,
yeah. Gotcha. So there's a couple things I do that's all on pause because I'm doubling down on my social media business. Yeah. And everything else is kind of just sitting on the back burner right now.
Okay, gotcha. But what would you say is, what's Spencer's story? Like when you look down the road, what do you want people to know about your story?
I think keywords, persistence, dedication, devotion, you know, all those keywords of like, you know, self-belief, to avoid insecurities, to really just go all in. Because as I get older and as I have a more impact or bigger impact on social media, I'm able to do these things where, you know, I quit my 9-to-5 and I had a huge audience, and then I spent a year of people saying you can't do it. And then after, you know, a year and a half now, I've built a business with multiple employees in office, and, you know, we're looking to expand even more. And then now people are like, oh, he did it. Congrats. Yeah. And I want to keep doing that. I want to keep showing people like, I'm going to build another business and keep going and going. And, you know, so many people say you're spreading yourself too thin. You've done too many things, but everything I do, I'm learning from. So why should I listen to them? So there's all these things I'm doing that is for me in longevity. But as far as like my story, I just want to share that, you know, no matter what you go through in life, no matter how rough it is, no matter how low rock bottom you see, there's always a way to get out of it. It's just a matter of, you have to figure it out for yourself. No one's going to save you. No one's going to say, hey, here you go. Here's the exit plan. Here's the exit strategy. You have to be the one that takes the initiation to go after that, execute your idea, and then you find that outlet that saves you.
It's about accountability too, right? 100%. I mean, you're the one who has the power to create that life that you want. If you want to be that creative person, put your creativity out there, you're the one who's going to have to decide whether you're the one that wants to do that.
And the best thing is you don't need permission.
Yeah.
You can go after it 100%. You don't need anyone's permission to do anything in this life, dude. And that's one thing I've learned. And that's what's allowed me to be 100% creative. Or I'd say that, you know, photography has a huge impact on me because it was so much of a creative outlet that I used all that creativity and all that creative power towards business strategy. I had so much creativity in how I did composition and editing and post-processing and shooting cars and lighting. You can use that same format with business structure. The people you hire, how you write your contracts, how you reach out to people. I used all that same creativity power, but in a different format, and it worked.
Man, dude, I love your story. Again, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. Brother. Dude, by the way, so this is episode 8, and you actually made this is a special moment for me because this is the first time that I got my coffee table recording, man. So, you know, got this, and if people don't know, by the way, I held off on this for such a long time, and I don't know why, but I just feel more official.
Yeah.
So just know, this is a great, this is a milestone episode for me.
This makes me happy to be a part of this. But I do have one thing to ask you.
Yeah.
So how many episodes have you done so far?
So I've done 8.
8. Okay. So in those episodes, I'm sure that a lot of people bring value to the videos, the podcast, to you. If you had to finish off my episode by talking about something you want to talk about or share something that's on your mind.
On my mind?
On your mind right now. I want to know what's going through your head in your life, what you're working on. Just a quick way to end the video.
Dude, I want to hear stuff about you. This is different. I like this. You know what? Again, we kind of talked about it before we started recording. Again, I'm in a space right now where I feel like I have a creative mind too. I don't know how creative it is, but I think I do. I think I'm that type of person who's just, I have so many ideas in my head. I fail to know how to execute it and kind of put it out there. So I'm starting to let the creative juices flow, but I'm really in a space right now where I'm really just trying to be of value to people, just kind of what we talked about. And, this is what this podcast is about, is I wanted to see what platform can I do or can I use to really make an impact with people. And I felt that sharing people's stories, like with remarkable people such as yourself, was the best way to do it. You know what I mean? So this is what I'm trying to do with this podcast. I just feel like, and every other podcast, I'm still working on it, as you could tell. I do ask questions. I feel like every other podcast out there is really just an interview. Yeah. And I'm really trying to make it like a conversation, like as if we're sitting down for coffee and we're like magically like someone's recording us from a bush. You know what I mean? Like I really want it like just like a natural thing. And I get so inspired by just sitting with you guys, because not only it's kind of where there's so many things going through my mind when I'm recording, right? Like one thing is obviously what's going on here. And while the audience I know is finding so much value out of this, so am I. You know what I mean? I find it your story is so remarkable. And I think just sharing the story of these people, because sometimes there's more to just like, people might like, for instance, with me, like I know you, I've seen you on social media, but I don't know your story. And I feel compelled and I have an obligation to share these people who are making an impact their story. That's what I feel. Yeah. You know what I mean? Totally going off, totally off the subject of that though. What's going on in my head is, dude, like truthfully, I find you remarkable, man. Like it's crazy, dude. Like I just see, I see a prime example of hustle and just like, just giving up something. Because I feel like a lot of people, and I am a victim of this, they're so comfortable in where they are right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're just comfortable, and it just takes one decision to make a move, to move forward and to do something that you love to do. Yeah. Why live in a life of regret? And I'm in a place like that right now a little bit. But this whole process right here has been like, it's flowing, and it's been something special for me. Well,
I can see that you are already ahead of so many other people, and not that that matters, but the overall mindset that you have, that you took the initiation to even start recording, let alone do 8 episodes. Yeah. Like, dude, you're so on the way to doing something much bigger than what you anticipate.
Dude, I appreciate it.
Because what I see right now, of course, you're welcome, that the social media game right now is changing. Okay. I think that you can't fake it for another 5 years. Another 5 years, the fake entrepreneurs are going to be gone. And the only people that are going to be the only people that will be seen are the ones who are genuine. Because so many people can see through the fake followers, the jets, the cars, whatever. Yeah. So if the way that you're approaching it right now is only going to help you to your advantage for the long term. So I see an insane amount of, success and growth with this, and you're already consistent with it. So if you have the same mentality for a long time, it's going to be, probably one of the biggest podcasts in the world.
Dude, I appreciate that. Man, I might take a shot of whiskey after this.
No, I'm just being honest from what I see.
I appreciate it, man. You know what? I think, I'm trying to find my unique voice. Obviously, I feel like we're in a world of podcasting, I guess you could say, and I am trying to be a little different. And again, it's a work in progress. I was just telling you before we recorded, the technical side of this thing, I'm learning something new every day. Like, I'm going to be honest right now. I was looking on my phone because my timer went off. So I don't know how far we are into it, but like just little things like that. And I'm just being honest with you. And, someone told me once with this podcasting, is like, man, dude, you're on a megaphone right now. It's like, it's crazy. And then, like I said, we were talking about how people from different countries were listening. And again, I think a lot of people are overlooking podcasting, man. I think people are like, okay, we're just going to talk and record. Like, I think it's way more than that. One, it's a lot harder than a lot of people think.
Oh, yeah.
And second, because of the magnitude of the impact I'm trying to make, I have an obligation to really share your story.
Yeah.
So, which I hope I did a good job.
By the way.
Great.
It was awesome,
I appreciate
man.
it, man.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Because it's hard because sometimes, of course, I want to be of value. And it's one thing to just have a story like, oh, man, he has an incredible story. But at the same time, I want the story to be impactful. Like, I want to know if someone found value out of this episode, that if they reach out to you, Spencer, that even though I know you're busy, like, you could respond to and be like, wow, like, I appreciate it. And you could just kind of send them to the right direction.
Yeah.
Or just tell them something brief that, you know, that may be of value to them. And that's what I'm about. Because, again, I do have a lot of people who reach out to me like, hey, you should get this person because they have a great story. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, okay, like, great. But is this person going to respond to, you know, are they impactful in their own way too?
Sure. And I think the best thing you're doing is you're finding a structure behind your conversation where you're able to break down different segments of somebody's life without being like, what's your first name? What's your last name? What's your, you know, like, it's not very like textbook. It's more of like, let's get a coffee and talk. And I felt I felt that the whole way.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I've been through interviews where it's just like very dry. You're like, this is not fun. I don't know how to share. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But the way that this was approached, I felt very comfortable going through each section.
Thank you.
You know, so I think that the way you're doing it has a great format. And if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe right now.
I appreciate you. One more thing before I forget. Oh, you know, you got to sign my canvas.
Yeah, dude.
You got to sign my canvas. And then lastly, I mean, I don't think everyone should know where to find you, but just in case they don't, where can they find you?
So Instagram is just at Spencer Berke. YouTube is Spencer Berke. Twitter is Spencer Berke. Everything is just my first and last name.
Man, I love it.
Yeah, I transitioned everything just to first and last name because that's going to build value behind my name.
Yeah.
So this, as crazy as it may be sometimes, I'm trying to build value behind it.
Yeah.
So Spencer Berke everywhere on social media.
Man, I love it because someone has Ejay Cruz, so I have to do @_Ejay Cruz, and I can't wait to the point where I don't know, buy that person out. I don't know. Whatever.
Dude, trust me. I've been DMing @Spencer for like 4 years now, and he won't get back to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I'll buy it right now, and I haven't heard back from him.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess. Hey, @_Ejay Cruz.
Hey, it'll work, dude.
yeah, dude. I appreciate you, man. This was really fun.
Yeah.
Man, I'm thrilled to I'm thrilled to upload this. I know, dude, like I said, you're making an impact, and you have something special going on with you. And man, I can't wait.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Episode 8, guys. I appreciate you guys. The Parables Podcast. If you guys haven't, like, follow, subscribe. We are on YouTube, as you could tell if you're watching. Otherwise, pure audio. We are on basically all audio streaming platforms: Apple, Spotify,
it's everything, man. The whole list out there.
Castbox, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, you name it. And also, by the way, I just got on AnyPod and TuneIn. So please keep your Alexa busy and just have Alexa play the Parables Podcast.
There you go.
Episode 8. I appreciate you guys. We're out.